Verto is a business born out of passion. As a group of people, we're passionate about great design, about technology, about well-being, but above all, we're passionate about sustainability. From the start, our goal has always been to connect those things which matter to us most and bring them together in the homes we build. By doing that, by creating homes that are radically different to the average new build, we found a way to make a real positive impact on people's lives and a real positive impact on the planet. Our story started 10 years ago. Verto's co-founder Richard and myself were both working in the construction industry. We were taking on bigger and bigger projects. But as we gained more knowledge about the house building sector, the more we came to realize how deeply unsustainable it is. In terms of materials, the technology and the government policy, things hadn't really progressed since the 1960s. The interior design was different, but the fundamental idea of how a home is constructed, operates, and impacts the environment was stuck in the past. Other countries were in the early stages of delivering more sustainable homes, but in the UK, nobody was considering how modern materials and methods could be used to disrupt and transform the industry. It was at that point we realized we had a choice to make. We could either be part of the problem or part of the solution. That was 2010, the year we started Verto. If you look at other industries, over the past decade, there has been a monumental shift towards more sustainable practices. In transportation, electric vehicle sales have grown from 0 to over 500,000. Renewables have increased from 10% to 40% of the UK's energy mix. And in shops, we've seen an exponential growth of organic, local, and plant-based produce. Consumers have voted with their wallets. They've told us loud and clear they want change. And yet homes, the single biggest investment most people make in their lives, have seen almost no change in the last 10 years, and very little in the last 50. Since we started Verto, the average EPC rating of a new home in the UK has remained static. Installation of domestic solar panels has stagnated, and despite their terrible impact on the environment, gas boilers are on track for record sales in 2021. So what is the impact of all this on the climate? Do our homes really cause that much pollution? Or is this just a fight that's not worth fighting? Well, according to the ONS, the average home produces 4 tons of CO2 each year. And with 29 million homes in the UK, the net result of this is that nearly a quarter of the UK's carbon emissions comes from buildings. Of course, the blame here doesn't lie at the door of homeowners. People have shown that, given a choice, they will take the sustainable option nearly every time. The problem is, when it comes to housing, there isn't a sustainable option. In fact, for millions of people, home ownership of any kind is now out of reach. As well as facing a climate crisis, the UK is also in the midst of a housing crisis. The government has announced plans to build 345,000 new homes every year, just to make sure everybody has somewhere to live. But if we build unsustainable housing at this rate, all we'll do is solve one challenge by deepening another. The fact of the matter is, there's only one way to solve both of these challenges at the same time. And that's to start building truly sustainable housing on a widespread scale. What we've done at Verto over the last 10 years has shown that the solution to this problem can exist and does exist. And here it is. This is one of our zero carbon smart homes. Operationally, it's zero carbon. This means from the moment it's built, the people inside produce zero carbon emissions. Zero emissions from their lighting, zero emissions from their heating, and zero emissions from almost everything else they do. This particular house is in Newquay, Cornwall. But we are currently building 130 homes across the southwest, with many more in the pipeline, all catering for different communities at different price points. So how does this home work? And how does it achieve that magic number of zero carbon emissions? Well, it relies on three systems: the heating system, the electrical system, and the smart home system, which are orchestrated so the home uses less energy and loses less energy. So first up is the heating system. This has three elements: heat creation, heat retention, and heat recovery. The creation of heat starts here with a heat pump. We use either ground or air source heat pumps to suit each individual site. This particular one draws heat from the air outside the building and feeds it directly into the underfloor heating pipes. It's about 300 times more energy efficient than a gas boiler and can extract heat from the air even when the outside temperature drops as far as -15 degrees. So it's effective even in the depths of the British winter. Once you've created heat in a building, the next thing you want to do is make sure it stays there. You want to retain it. This is where the superstructure of the building comes in. The walls, the floor, the roof, creating a nice airtight wrapper to keep the heat in. Unfortunately, many homes in the UK have a superstructure a bit like a sieve. They may have double glazing, soft lining, and cavity wall insulation, but heat still escapes through dozens of tiny little gaps, cracks, and thermal bridges all over the building. In fact, the average home loses around 3 degrees of heat every 5 hours. By contrast, our homes are less like a sieve and more like a Tupperware box. They are designed with a fabric-first approach to make sure they are as sealed as possible. We install super insulation, airtight membranes, which means heat loss is almost zero. The heat that's created in the home stays in the home. Obviously, one of the challenges with creating an airtight superstructure is that you still need to find a way to get stale air out of the building and fresh air in. In our homes, that job is handled by this. It's called a mechanical ventilation with heat recovery system, or MVHR for short. Now, if you think about a traditional extractor fan, like the one you have in your bathroom or kitchen at home, that works by sucking air straight out of the building, which is great for, say, getting rid of humid air after you've had a shower, but it's also very wasteful, because all that heat in that humid air, heat that you've paid for with money and carbon, is also ejected by the fan. By contrast, our heat recovery system gets rid of all the things you don't want, like humidity, dust, and stale air, but holds on to the one thing you do want to keep, the heat. Then it sends it directly to the rooms you're using, like the living area. It essentially does for heat what a recycling centre does for glass, metal, or paper. It puts it back into use, so you don't need to keep creating more. Like the heating system, the electrical system has three elements: on-site generation, off-site generation, and appliances. The home creates energy on-site through an array of solar panels integrated into the roof, which is supplemented by electricity generated off-site from fully renewable sources. This means every drop of electricity flowing through our homes has been created in the most sustainable way possible. Even so, we still aim to reduce the amount of electricity our homes use. So when it comes to the appliances, we only select the most efficient options with the highest ratings possible. Our homes are also designed for the next generation of sustainable cars. we install all the wiring to charge electric vehicles at home. So not only can our homeowners live carbon zero, they can drive carbon zero too. The third and final way our homes optimize energy efficiency is through a smart home system. This really is the most impressive part of our homes, and something that's taken years to perfect. It has two elements: sensors in every room and what we call the brain of the home. In each room, we install multiple sensors, integrating them into the light switches and the ceiling. These sensors constantly monitor the room for light, heat, humidity, and motion, so they know whether anyone is using the room and what the environment is like. This information is all digested by the brain, which can process it to learn how the home is being used, which rooms are occupied, at which times of day, how warm you like them to be, and whether you want the lights on or off. Over time, the brain adapts the environment to your exact personal preferences. This means you don't need to set the thermostat. You don't need to go around the house switching off all the lights. You don't even need to open a window to let fresh air in. The home automatically manages the internal atmosphere for you. This is pretty remarkable, but it's not just a clever trick. It also dramatically reduces the amount of energy the home consumes, because you're never creating heat and light in places you don't need it or want it. Because we use so many modern technologies in the heating, electrical, and smart home systems, it's taken years to fully integrate them. We've had to develop a new approach to wiring, which uses 75% less cabling, but the results of this efforts are phenomenal. While the average house creates 4 tons of CO2 per year, ours create 0. This means over the next 5 years, the homes we have already built will prevent 3.8 thousand tons of CO2 being emitted into the atmosphere. If as a nation, we could reach the government's target of 345,000 new homes per year, all built to our standard, we'd be looking at an annual carbon saving of over 500,000 tons. What's more, a lot of these technologies like heat pumps, heat recovery systems, and triple glazing can be retrofitted to existing properties, which would make an even bigger dent in our national carbon footprint. So there is real evidence that the solution to the climate crisis can start right here, at home. When we started Verto, we were passionate about sustainability. But over the last 10 years, the more we've learned, that passion has grown and grown. Today, we don't just want to build sustainable homes, we want to build a sustainable future. But in order to achieve that goal, we need to rethink the approach to house building. As a business, we've come a long way in a short time, and we continue to progress. Every year, we find new ways to become more sustainable, more knowledgeable, and more impactful. But this story isn't just about us. There's a much bigger issue at stake here. The challenge we all face is the need to build sustainable housing on a grand scale. The solution to that challenge is right here. We've demonstrated that it works both environmentally and at scale. But for us to take the next step, we need people like you to become part of that solution. We need councils and planning officers to challenge the sustainability of proposed developments much harder. We need landowners to partner with us so we can achieve the scale of building required. And we need policymakers and regulators to drive change right across the industry. It sounds like a mammoth task, but in the face of the climate crisis, we have seen time and time again that industry-wide change isn't just possible, it's essential. So we're asking all of you to work together with us and fight for zero on the home front.